Welcome back to Live What You Love. So recently, a friend of mine and a subscriber to the channel asked this question. Now, I have never made a pipe before, but I am pretty savvy when it comes to woodworking. I've done just a lot of kind of out there projects, and that kind of broadens your creativity. So in my opinion, doing new projects is only a benefit because it's just going to widen your span of knowledge and kind of open that creative box that you got to keep going. Don't lose your dinosaur. These two pieces are what we're going to make it out of. Obviously, I normally make bows. That's kind of my thing, but that means I have a lot of beautiful seasoned Osage kind of lying around. So this will be the bowl, but also we need to keep in mind that for a pipe, you have to kind of make them two-piece. So we're gonna have a bowl that's gonna have a mortise sticking off the side, which will be like a little sub-cylinder sticking off the side. And that's gonna have a groove inside that cylinder that your tenon can fit into. So these two pieces will end up sticking together like this. So this is what we're gonna make our rod and our actual like breathing pipe out of. And then we're gonna add a tenon to the end of it. I'll show you a breakdown of kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the rough idea for how we're gonna make this pipe. So we have two starting pieces of wood. We have this piece here, which is just kind of a cylinder. And then we have this piece, which is a little baby wedge. Now, these are the same pieces that I showed you on camera just a second ago. Now from the cylindrical piece, we're going to use our chop saw and we're gonna make a rectangular prism out of it. That's going to be used to make the bowl and the mortise. Now, you can see that kind of the breakdown of how I want to do it. I want a 5/8 hole, and then the mortise is just an extra little cylindrical body sticking off the side of the bowl. And then we're going to hollow that out for our tenon to fit in. Now, the second piece, this wedge-like piece, we're going to use our rasp, like our farrier's rasp probably. We'll do most of it with that. And we'll turn it into a tapered cylinder. Now, after that's a tapered cylinder, we're gonna have to, on the edge here, we're gonna have to make that into a tenon. So the tenon is what's going to fit inside the mortise. So the tenon will just be on the end. That's gonna be pretty simple to make. I'll just do that with a rasp as well. And then we'll develop the taper of our cylinder. And now when that's done, we'll then take a drill bit and we'll drill in from this side, and then we'll come at it from the opposite side and we'll meet. I don't have a drill bit that's long enough to go through like 10 inches of wood right here. I don't know if I'm gonna do 10 inches, 8 inches. I haven't decided on the length. So after this is drilled out, then those two pieces are about ready to go together. But the mortise is we're gonna have to drill that out with a bit that fits the outer circumference of our tenon. And now after that's done, we're gonna move on to the bowl. So the bowl, we're gonna drill a 5/8 hole all the way down, full depth. And then our tenon hole, so we're gonna kind of have two holes. We're gonna have one for the tenon, which is gonna be a larger diameter hole than the air hole that we're gonna drill that's gonna connect to the bottom of our bowl. So that's kind of what I'm thinking so far. And then just as we're going along, I'll probably make some adjustments like I always do. But that's our rough plan. We just went over kind of our diagram, our rough thoughts. These are not final. A lot of the times I just kind of do like a rough sketch of what I would like to accomplish. And then as I get going on the project, a lot of the times it'll change or shift or I have to adjust. But like we said, we are going to be using these two pieces. The first piece that we're gonna shape is the bowl. The bowl with the mortise kind of sticking off the side. So we need to keep that in mind. So we're gonna do a rough sketch and then we're gonna move over to the chop saw. All right guys, rough sketch done. So here, you can see it best like that. If it's like this, the freaking ceiling light's like, boom, nah. So like this, here's our bowl and then here's the mortise that's gonna kind of stick out. So let's take it over to the chop saw. We'll take off as much meat as we can. Getting in these little groove areas, that's probably gonna be kind of a pain in the butt, but I have some kind of fine rasps and things like that where I think we can get around it. Here's the shape we're gonna kind of do a rough cut on. I'm gonna do kind of the longitudinal cuts first,
on either side. This part is already kind of right at the edge, so I might just leave that edge. I might try to clean it up. You know what? Yeah, we're going to clean it up just a bit. Now, I would not advise doing this yourself. This is a semi-dangerous way to do this. I don't really have any alternatives, so that's why I'm doing it. If you had a bandsaw or something, this would go. I mean, but I'm working with what I got. All right. I was a little nervous about that one, but that could not have gone better. Right on that edge. Same thing this side. And I am, if you're wondering, you see how there's a slant here? It's higher on this side than this side. I'm planning on keeping it that way because I want the pipe at the end to kind of have some of that character. So I want the top to be not level. Let's do the other side. This side should be easier, hopefully. That made me a little bit nervous. If you can see here, I don't really have a clamping arm that's, well, hang on. Maybe I got an idea. Okay. We're gonna use, this is such a bad idea, but we need to get this cut, so I'm gonna do it anyways. Okay. That's actually holding pretty good. I feel semi-decent about that. I actually really like that. It worked out well. I don't know if you guys can see what's going on here, but normally you cut like 4x4s or 2x4s on this thing, and they're long enough so that you can use this clamp here to kind of clamp them in and wedge them down. That's not the case with this piece because it's so small. And like I said, normally you'd use a bandsaw for this. So I'm just kind of doing a redneck version, which I do a lot, and we'll do the cut. See how it worked out. Man, that thing is in there. It actually worked out pretty good. Do not do that. I'm stupid, so I do stupid things, but you, do not do that. Turned out pretty excelente though. Okay, now that we have that one, it should be a lot easier to do this next one because we've got a flat plane and a flat piece to push on. So this next piece should go pretty well. Nice. Let's go right there. Yep, I like that. Nice. Okay. We are getting there, fellas. Let's get rid of this crap. It's the last little cut we're gonna do on here. So yeah, I do have to do it that way. That is looking pretty slick. I know it's just a box, but I mean, come on. I'm used to doing everything by hand, so this thing makes me mighty happy. Okay, so let me show you where we're at. We use the chop saw very dangerously. Don't do that yourselves. Like I said, I'm an idiot. I do stupid stuff. We got that shaped out nicely. So for now, that's kind of all we can do with the chop saw, with that piece. Now, this piece, I need a way to save some time, because I don't, yes, I could take a Farrier's rasp and just rub on this like crazy until it's a cylinder, right? But I don't really feel like expending all that energy, and I'd like to use the chop saw as much as I can. So let me kind of jerry-rig something, and I have like a rough idea of a way to make this much easier to work with. Again, not a safe solution. So if you're doing this yourself, I do not advise it, but I'm gonna try it. Let me show you what I kind of came up with to solve that issue and save us some time. So we got this chunk. We want to remove a lot of this without having to use a Farrier's rasp. So I spent maybe 2 to 5 minutes making this little jig. It's just 2x4, and then
It doesn't have to be even to serve its purpose. And it's not even even on the edges. It's literally just rough cut. I put 2 screws in on to connect each of the blocks. But the purpose is to have a snug fit for this piece, which it actually provides pretty well. And now we can put this in the chop saw, and then we'll lower this down and we can grind on it backwards. And then I'll just kind of go down, I'll go through this part, kind of do this edge right here. And it's gonna wanna twist, but these walls should help to prevent that. And there's still a little bit of wiggle room, but that's nothing you can't solve with a couple of shims, just in like the edges. If we lose a finger or something, I did this for you guys. How'd we do? Haha! It worked. Crazy mad scientist wins. All right, we're getting there. We got a lot of that off just now. We need to find some way to kind of get this piece off as well. I think at this point I might just switch over to the rasp because we already have a pretty good bit hollowed out, and I think the belt sander could handle this pretty easily. I'll probably use the draw knife to remove the bark, and then I'll just take it over to the belt sander and kind of round everything out. But that helped out a lot. So as you can tell from the shirt, it's day 2. I wanted to kind of start this and finish this last night because if you're gonna make a pipe, don't be discouraged. That's actually a very, very beginner friendly project. You can learn how to do mortise and tenon joints and just kind of start working on your savviness with woodworking. But right now, I'm kind of a beginner at pipe making. So I'm just kind of doing what makes sense to me, applying some of my bow knowledge here and there, using some creativity to make stuff happen with the tools that I lack. I highly encourage you guys to do the same. Nothing builds your woodworking skill set like being creative and thinking outside the box. For this part, we're just gonna use a little hatchet and kind of thin it out before we take it to the belt sander. Just get a cloth, hold it on the top, that way you don't hurt your hand. And then put one on the bottom too, just so it doesn't slide around while you're hitting it. And let's just take this bark off. It actually went pretty quick, so I think with the hatchet as well, this thing is crazy dull. I really need to sharpen it. That's why it's having some issues with this Osage. But I'm just gonna kind of round out these real jagged edges. Whenever you have something real jagged like that, if you set it on the belt sander, a lot of the times that's the part that will catch and kind of fly out of your hands. I think I'm gonna go over to the chop saw real quick and take this part off. I don't quite want it to be that long. I kind of want it about like that. So I'm gonna go cut this real quick. Okay, we've got a much more manageable piece here. We're gonna finish taking off the sapwood, that's this white wood, so that we only have Osage heartwood, which is the gold stuff, exposed. So let's do that real quick. That's pretty close. The layer of the sapwood is very, very fine here. So it's belt sander time. It's a beautiful day today. It's kind of chilly, but it's perfect for working in the shop. You can just open the garage door and you stay cool instead of being like a sawdust, hot, sweaty mess. So I've got the belt sander in here, just clamped into the vise. I do this a lot when it comes to kind of shaping things. I do not have a lathe, so I just kind of do it by hand. So next step is to turn, where is it? We got to turn this guy right here. Still kind of blocky and rigid looking. We need to turn it into a cylinder. Okay, so as you can see, I am thoroughly covered in I didn't even know it was this bad. I'm covered in Osage, but it's at a good price. We got this thing looking pretty cylindrical. Let me show you the next steps. We've got this thing pretty well rounded out, and the purpose of that last step was not to get it to the final dimension. It was just to get it even so that we can do this next step. Off camera, I just kind of colored in all the spaces that I want to remove. All the colored areas is just what I'm going to get rid of. But the main thing I'm interested in is the width of this mortise joint here, because that's going to determine the width of our larger side of our rod and of the tenon joint. So this is going to sit right against here like that. The mortise will actually be much lower. It's not going to be at the top of the bowl. It's going to be about a third of the way up from the bottom, so it'll stick out right here. What I need to do is make the larger end of this equal to the same width as this mortise joint that's on our bowl block. So the first thing that I want to do to make that happen is to get a real nice cut on this edge, just to make it like perfectly perpendicular. So I'm going to walk over to the chop saw and just even out the ends real quick on both sides. One last thing, when you do this step, make sure, so if your final dimension, if you want it to be like 5 inches, so like that, you want to have a little bit of, about an extra inch on the end, and I'll show you why. And having more can only help. So I'll probably leave about 2 extra inches on the end. When you're doing this next step, leave as much length as possible on the actual like tenon part. For this next part, I've got just some metal rod here. Cut off a little chunk. It's about 2-3 inches. You match up the size of that with the drill bit. So just set your metal rod off to the side for just a second. We're about to use that. Here's the tenon part of our pipe. Now, the reason that we left extra room, like an extra inch or 2 inches from the final length, is so that we can drill down a certain distance and bore out the center of this. We're gonna make like a makeshift lathe sort of thing, just so we can get this thing perfectly cylindrical. So I'm just gonna drill out a little bit. If you try to hold this, like hold this piece in one hand and hold the drill in the other, that's not gonna work out very well. I would advise putting your drill in the vise, using a clamp the trigger down, just get it to be spinning the whole time, and then just by hand, push it on there. It's a much more stable and much safer way to do it. If you want to make it easier for the drill to start, just get a little hole saw bit and then stick it right there and just kind of tap it a few times with the hammer. If you can see, now we've got a centered hole. That's going to be our starting point for our drill. Okay, so easy as that. We got a hole. It might not be perfectly centered for this one, but it doesn't matter because this thing is kind of oblong and elliptical right now, and we need to get it to a perfect circle. Next step, so I have some archery glue just lying around, so I'm gonna use that, but if you have super glue or whatever, just use that instead. And I'm thinking this will work. I've never done this before, but makes sense to me. Just glue this part in, apply a generous amount. You will be able to get this out afterwards, so don't panic. Just kind of get it in there. Use a hammer, tap it down. We're in there, and now we've got a metal piece for the drill to bite down on, and this will rotate when the drill's on so that we can get this to a perfect cylinder. We'll just do a general taper. So this end will be our thick end, and then that'll taper down to our thinner end, which will be where our mouthpiece and everything is. To get this piece off, we still have this metal rod in here, right? So put the rod in your vise, clamp it down real tight. And then keep in mind, we left that extra room, so we don't care about damaging the top part because we're gonna cut that anyways. So just set your vise grips so that you can grab it and that you should be able to apply enough force to twist it. Maybe tighten down just a bit. Boom. Now we'll also let you know how deep the hole is, because I can see right here where the glue line is, and I know this was touching the bottom. So I'm just gonna make a mark on here. So it would be right there. Then just trace that line all the way around. Okay. So that's where we're gonna cut it, right? But don't cut it yet, because we're gonna use this piece again to make the next part much easier. Right now, there's a hole that goes down, and it's like yay wide. I'll just color it so you guys can see it. So right now there's a hole going down the center of this thing, right? And it stops right there where that line is. So we know that the beginning of our tenon joint is gonna be here. So from this part down maybe a centimeter, we're gonna draw a second line, okay? Just like that. And that is gonna be where our tenon joint is. So for that, we want about the same width as this rod actually. So all you're gonna do is trace down the same width. So that's gonna be our tenon joint, but instead of being on the outside, obviously it'll be on the center in here. And why can't we do the tenon joint a little higher? Because this is already hollowed out down to this line. I think the easiest way to do this is to put the friction fit back on the rod. So stick this back on that metal rod, put it back in the drill, turn it, and then we'll just grind on it with one of the rasps. So these rasps, the sides of them, also have like that gridded kind of pattern, so you can still take off meat. So instead of doing this, I'm gonna do this. I don't know if y'all can see, but that metal rod went down a little bit farther than I thought. So when I was going through, this was the original kind of trough we were digging out. But we ran into that metal rod, so I decided to just scoot it down just a little bit. So our tenon is gonna be from here to here. Okay, so while this was actually drying, I ended up just kind of grinding on it the same way I would with like bow stuff, and it works way better stationary for this part. So I've got the tenon pretty well carved out. I'm gonna thin it out just a little bit more, and then we're good. Okay, let's see how we did. I like it. That's a good start for sure. And then we're just gonna cut it right here for our tenon. Yeah, we're just gonna make a cut right below that little rod so that we get as much tenon length as we can. Okay, it's a good start. So at this point, this piece is pretty well on its way. And I really like the look of it. I think this will be a very handsome pipe when we get done. We need to start carving away at this block. We're just gonna start cutting out some of these shaded in portions. Okay, so we're gonna take out this chunk first. So we're gonna go down until we meet our bowl on the side, which will be, so we're cutting right here until we get down to here, and then we'll just cut out like a little sliver. Do the same thing on this side. Nice. Let's do this cut as well. I like the way this is coming along. It's looking nice. Okay. Looking good, looking good. I like it. I need to go a little bit farther down on this side. All right, so this little center block is gonna be our mortise joint. Let's get this thing kind of flipped around and we can saw the other parts. So right here, this is what we're looking at right now. We got it ringed out, got the mortise kind of cut out. Now we need to come in kind of at an angle, save us some time on this part. And now we'll start a line here. We'll just be real careful and kind of scribe it. I'm actually going to use this smaller saw to get it started. All right. Let's make sure the other side is where we want it. Looks good. All right, nice. So we got that cut done. We did this one and then a little diagonal. Kind of matches our bowl shape. Now we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Just kind of get rid of this little pocket here. Man, this thing is gonna be so pretty. See what we're looking at. It's getting there for sure. Osage is so heavy. That was one of the highest wood densities. Osage and hickory. In my opinion, just because I'm biased because I'm a bowyer. I'll take Osage over hickory any day. We might have to take a little bit of room off of here. So we might need to do a cut and just kind of trim all that off, because this bottom part, I don't know how deep those cracks go. It doesn't look like they penetrate very deep. They look to be about 1 centimeter or 2 up, but we could cut right here and then have a real nice pipe still. And that's just what I wanted to see. I just wanted to make sure we were past those cracks. It's a good deal. Last part we need to do is figure out the angle that we want for the mortise. This piece here is going to have an air hole running through, and that's going to go down through the mortise and down to the bottom of the bowl. Now it's very important that it is actually at the bottom of the bowl. So you wouldn't want your bowl ending where my left thumb is and then having your air hole up here. That would not provide sufficient oxygen when you inhale so that the tobacco smoke would actually go to you. So this needs to be angled in such a way. I'm not going to drill the bowl all the way to the bottom. I think that's silly. I'll probably only go to about here. So if that's the case, I want my angle of my tenon. So just picture like an imaginary line run through the center of your tenon and then point that down to where the bottom of your bowl is going to be. And then right there, that's it for me. I'm just gonna mark that with a pencil, and that's where my mortise, or where I'm gonna draw my mortise, and then we're gonna do the cutouts. So like I said, the mortise joint is gonna be a little bit wider, and then after we fit in the tenon, we'll just sand down the mortise to match the width or the outer circumference of the tenon. Okay, almost. Perfecto. Okay, so I thought about it. This piece, we got it roughly rounded out. I don't want it to be perfect for the aesthetic. I do like things to kind of have imperfections, such as the slanted top. I think they look way cooler that way. Currently though, before I drill any holes, I want to fit these two together, so then it makes one piece. Not permanently, but temporarily. And if you can see, this is a flat surface, but it's at the wrong angle. So if we put this on like this, that looks stupid. You see what I mean? I hate that. So I want it to be the same angle, so it's like a continuous upslope. We're just gonna take our little baby saw, and we're gonna cut this at an angle real quick just to match it. Need a little tester-rooney. So let's see if we hook that. Oh yeah, that's money. Now we're gonna drill out the hole for our tenon. So that's gonna go right there. Now, how do you pick the bit to match your tenon? So you don't want it to be an exact fit. I don't know if y'all can see, but this drill bit is slightly smaller, and that's how you want it. You don't want the drill bit bigger, because then the tenon will just flop around inside your mortise. You want it slightly smaller, and then you can always just rub sandpaper and rotate this around to shrink it so that it's like a perfect friction fit. So this bit is my desired air hole diameter, and then I've got this piece of tape on there because I don't want it to go any deeper than that tape to get to the center of where the bowl is going to be drilled out here in a sec. So we're just going to drill this before we put the mortise and tenon together. Little fiber. This is just a preventative measure, because that wood, when we drill into it, is going to want to open up. So I'm going to put as much compressive force on there while I'm drilling it as I can. Still in one piece. It's connected.
Yeah, the smoke's coming.
It's connected. Let's freaking go. I could not have done that without you. Okay, so I know this is a little high, but I can shave that down and then shave this down and make the transition really great. But it fits in great, and we got the hole drilled out.
Our tenon is still holding up, thankfully. Some good news there.
All right, guys. We've pretty much got all the holes drilled except for that 5/8 hole on the top, which we're gonna be using. Let me twist this so you can see. Using this guy. Normally, this would be super easy, but because I want to keep this slant, that complicates it and makes it a lot harder. So I'm gonna have to really hold on to it because it's gonna dig out the edge before it starts doing the center. Okay, so this bit right here, I need to get rid of this pointy part, but this one's in good condition, so I don't just want to like saw through this with the grinder. This one I have jacked with in the past, so I just mimicked the 5/8 width, and I'm just gonna take the grinder and clean it up along these lines so that we can finish out the hole. Okay, so after a little bit of grinder action, I took this is like an old 1-inch hole cut, and I just kind of converted it to a 5/8 width so that I could put a custom tip on there. So I want it to kind of bowl out the center, and I've started working on it. It's actually doing a pretty good job. But we went right through the center of the pith, so all the growth rings kind of go out from our bowl, like the little hole. You can see all the growth rings kind of concentrically surrounding that, which is exactly what I wanted. And now we're just drilling down until we meet this hole. Okay, so I think it's connected, but I'm not really positive. There's a lot of sawdust and crap down in there, but I think it felt like it was connected. Let's see. We're gonna blow into it. Hopefully we see a big poof. All right, so that sucked, but awesome at the same time. Just kind of coat it to the end as well. Something I like to do if I'm doing a Morrison tenon is just sprinkle some sawdust on there. That's never gonna hurt. Just add a little bit of extra thickness, just make that joint fit really, really nice. Okay. I think I like it. We obviously have to clean this up quite a bit, but for right now, that is looking not too shabby. If you can see down in the bottom, you can actually see where that trench is. Let's see if I can move you guys so you can actually see it. Yeah, right there, right there. You see that? Like blacker area at the bottom. That's where the trench is for the air. So it has airflow. Like when we drilled in from the mortise opening, like right down there, and it connects right up dead center in the bottom of our bowl. So that could not have gone better. I love when things go well. It's awesome. Okay, so normally I kind of like to show all the sanding and everything else, but I want the next time you guys see it to be when it's done, when it's perfectly sanded, everything is smooth, the contours are great, and I want you to see the final product. So just hang on for just a bit. I'm gonna go finish all that. It'll probably take me 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'll show you the end result. Okay, I am thoroughly covered in sawdust, but so worth it. So time for the big reveal. This is what I came up with. Isn't she pretty? Look at that. Freaking awesome. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in and sticking around. I hope you liked the build. Let me know something that you'd like to see me make next. Oh, and I guess one last thing. Always remember, live what you love.